Hey everybody, this is Mr. Storm, and in this video we're going to talk about a lot of different objects that you can add into your Bootstrap pages. So first of all, I want to talk about colors very quickly. Bootstrap color classes have some pretty interesting names here. And if you're looking at it, you might think, oh, well, I don't know what that means, right? So here's some of the classes for text. We have text muted, which is gray. Primary is important. Success is green. Info is this blue, kind of bluish green. Warning is yellow. Danger is red. Secondary text comes in gray. We have white, dark, body, all that stuff, right? So they're not really indicated by the color name. You can still change things by color name, but these colors are more universally used. And so you can bring in those color classes individually. Okay. Okay, let's talk about tables. So we did a lot about, we added a table in our last project. So there's really not much that I need to cover with tables again. Just, you already know how to add tables. So images we talked about as well. This is going to be more important this project because this project is mainly going to be about creating an image carousel, which we'll talk about in a minute. Individual images can be organized and sorted and designed differently in Bootstrap, as we saw last week. Something else we talked about last week as well is the Bootstrap Jumbotron. I personally love the Jumbotron. I think it's great. And we're going to add another Jumbotron into this project as well. Okay, let's talk about alerts. So these alerts follow the same color system that we've just talked about. You can create an alert box on your screen with the right color system just by attaching the alert class to a div. All right, and it will automatically format it in the right way. Okay. Buttons. So buttons follow the same kind of class or the same kind of color representation. We can create a warning button, a danger button, all that stuff, just by associating the right class to it. Let's see. You can do an outlined button, which I think looks pretty nice. Depends on the design of your page. So your page might actually look better with the outlined buttons. You can also do large, default, or small. You can make your button smaller or larger depending on how you want to do it. You can do full width buttons, meaning that the button itself extends the full width of the container that it's in. You can also indicate a disabled button so that they know that they can't click that button. Now usually we will change from enabled to disabled using JavaScript, meaning I want to turn off the functionality of that button, but that's not something you're going to learn until the HTML5 applications class. Spinner buttons are cool. They look cool. You can also have a loading button like that. Alrighty. Button groups. This is really fantastic. I love the way Bootstrap does button groups. They look really nice, especially on mobile phones. So button groups are actually really easy to create. You just create a div, and then you assign the button group class to that div, and then all the buttons inside of that div are attached to that button group. It's very simple, and it's very, just look at the result. It looks fantastic. And you can do small button groups. You can do large button groups. You can do vertical button groups as well. Those are cool. You can also nest options within an item in a button group. So if we look here, we have our regular button group div, right, that covers everything. And then inside of that div, we have another button group div that wraps around this button. So this button itself, this is the Sony button. So that's the main button. Then we have a drop-down menu class inside of that button to make that work properly. So anyway, you can do it that way as well. We can do split drop-down buttons, meaning we have this side is a button, but then over here we have the drop-down. Vertical drop-downs. Let's see. We can do side by side. We can make buttons go side by side. So button groups are inline by default, which makes them appear side by side when you have multiple groups, but you can push one to the next if you want. All right, that's button groups. Let's talk about badges. Badges are cool. Again, they're just little they're little text indicators that, you know, something happened, right? And they're all contextual. You can do pill badges, which look better. You can do badges inside of an element. So if you have a button here that says messages, you can have a badge inside with the amount of messages that they have. And again, a lot of this stuff is going to be handled with JavaScript, meaning we're going to change the behavior of the button or of the message, the badge, using JavaScript, which we're not going to get into in this class. We're just we're just making it look good. Progress bars, again, you know, JavaScript is something that we would use to handle these, but they look good, and here's where you go to find how to create one on a page. Pagination. Pagination is fantastic. Basically, pagination will allow you to create a button group that links to specific pages, and so you can have pages, you can flip from page to page inside of a button group. So you would associate an unordered list with the pagination class, and it would organize it like that. So it's pretty easy. Pretty easy. All right. List groups are cool too because they make it look a lot better. So again, you just associate the list group class with your list. You can also set an active item. You can set the active state to an item in the list group. You can also lock out items, disable items. So again, item groups are kind of just like button groups. Cards. Now, cards are something I don't really necessarily use a lot, but I have seen people use cards a ton. So yeah, you can put cards on your page. They're just little containers where you can put information, put little text and pictures and stuff. All right, let's talk about two things that you are going to use for this project. One is Modal. A Modal is a pop-up window that displays on top of your current page when you click it. So if I click Open Modal here, this is a Modal, okay? And the Modal is going to give me whatever information I want. I can close it here, close it there. Now, to create a Modal, it's going to require some... let's take a look at an example so we can see. So when I click that Modal, this comes up. It's a very simple thing, but notice that, let's see, Modal example, so we have button, type equals button. So this button right here, the data toggle attribute here is set equal to Modal, which is what we want. The data target is my Modal, all right? So then down here we have a div on our page called a Modal, or with a class Modal, with the ID of my Modal. And inside the Modal, we have some sections. So we have dialogue, content, we have a header, body, and a footer. So the Modal is on your page, but by default, it's hidden until you click Open Modal. All right, so this is going to be a bit complicated, maybe to wrap your head around. I would recommend maybe copying this Modal code here, pasting it into your project and playing around with it, see if you can make it, modify it, make it look good. The other thing you might need is you might need to bring in the JavaScript the JavaScript linker, the Cloudflare, the Google APIs, all of the script things here. You might want to bring those in along with your Bootstrap link as well, because modals require JavaScript, so you're probably going to have to bring those in. Let's talk about a carousel. Oh, no. There we go. Let's talk about a carousel. There are many different kinds of carousels, but essentially they allow you to cycle through images. Okay. So, and again, the carousel is going to be quite a bit of code. So let's take a look here. So let's go to the body. Oh, up here, this is a little bit of style code inside the head, which will make our image fully, or our image carousel fully responsive, meaning I can shrink it and increase it and it will change. All we're doing is we're writing some CSS and changing the width and the height. Okay, so then we have a div with a class carousel slide. The data ride is carousel. So we have an unordered list, which are carousel indicators. Those are these guys right here. And then we have the slideshow itself. We have the carousel with the images in separate divs. And those divs are indicated with a class called carousel item. Then we have our left and right controls, which are these arrows over here. And they use this class, carousel control prev, carousel control next. All right. Now there are other options for carousels. So for example, you can add captions to your slides. Let's see. Oh, that's it. They must have, there were some other ways of doing carousel, but it looks like they've gotten rid of those. That's fine. Yeah, so that's really all you need. That looks pretty good to me. So carousels are good. Modals, remember modals. Modals are going to be helpful. Now in the project you're going to be working on this week, you are going to create a web page that has a jumbotron on the top, mainly an image carousel in the middle, and then a modal which pulls up more information. You'll see that whenever we get into the assignment itself. For now, good luck on the quiz, and let me know if you need any help.